It started on a Thursday. Nothing dramatic. I came home from work around 7 p.m., tired, listening to a podcast, scrolling my phone while unlocking my apartment door. I lived alone on the third floor of an older building, thin walls, creaky floors, but cheap rent and a decent location. I'd been there almost a year and never had any real problems. That night, everything felt off. Not scary, just wrong, in a way I couldn't explain. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Not rotten, not gas, just a faint, unfamiliar scent like damp clothes mixed with metal. I assumed it was coming from another apartment. Old buildings have weird smells. I shrugged it off, dropped my keys on the counter, and went to make dinner. That's when I saw the chair. One of my kitchen chairs was pulled out. I'm extremely particular about my apartment, probably because I live alone. Every chair is pushed in. Always. It's a small thing, but it's my thing. And I clearly remembered pushing all the chairs in before leaving that morning. I stood there for a second, staring at it. My first thought wasn't someone broke in, it was, I must have left it like that. So I pushed the chair back under the table and moved on. I cooked, ate, watched some random show, and eventually went to bed around midnight. That's when the noises started. At first, it sounded like pipes, a soft tapping from somewhere above my ceiling. Then a slow creak, like someone shifting their weight. I checked the time, 12:37 a.m. I texted my upstairs neighbor, a guy named Evan. Hey, are you moving furniture or something? No response. The sound stopped after a few minutes. I told myself it was just the building settling. I fell asleep the next morning. I woke up late. I rushed through my routine and didn't notice anything unusual until I got home that evening. My bathroom light was on. I know for a fact I turned it off. This time, I didn't brush it off. As easily, I stood in the doorway, heart beating faster than it should have. Scanning the apartment, everything looked normal. Nothing missing. No signs of forced entry. I checked my door. Locked windows. Locked. I turned off the bathroom light and tried to calm myself down. That night, I barely slept. Over the next week, little things kept happening. Cabinet doors slightly open. The TV volume not where I left it. The smell coming and going. Once, I found crumbs on the counter when I hadn't eaten anything there. I started taking pictures before leaving for work. Chairs, lights, doors. When I came home, I compared them. And that's when I knew I wasn't imagining it. Things were changing. Not every day. Not enough to be obvious. Just enough to mess with my head. I considered calling the landlord, but what was I supposed to say? Someone might be living invisibly in my apartment. I bought a cheap indoor security camera and set it up in the living room, facing the kitchen and front door. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't even tell myself what I expected to find. The first 2 nights, nothing happened. On the third night, I got a notification at 2:14 a.m. Motion detected. My heart started pounding as I opened the app. The video showed my living room. Dark, empty. Then, after a few seconds, something moved. Not the door. Not the windows. The hallway closet door. Slowly, quietly. It opened. Just enough for a face to appear. I froze. It was a man. Not a shadow. Not a trick of light. A real person. Pale, thin. His eyes reflected the camera's infrared light, giving them an unnatural glow. He stared directly at the camera, like he knew exactly where it was. Then he smiled and stepped back into the closet. The door closed. The video ended. I didn't breathe for a full minute. I grabbed my phone, keys, and wallet, and ran out of the apartment barefoot. I didn't even lock the door. I drove straight to a 24-hour diner and sat there, shaking until morning. I called the police as soon as the sun came up. They found nothing. No man. No signs of forced entry. No evidence of someone living there. Until one officer opened the closet. Behind the back wall panel was a narrow crawl space. Not on the building's blueprints. It ran vertically between apartments, connecting multiple floors. Inside, they found blankets, food wrappers, bottled water, a phone charger plugged into a stolen power line. Moving through the walls, someone had been living there. Using my apartment when I wasn't home. The camera footage was enough to launch a full investigation, but they never found him. Turns out, the building had a history. Decades old. Renovations done cheaply. Spaces covered up. instead of sealed. I moved out that same day. Here's the part that still messes with me. 2 weeks later, after I'd already moved in with a friend, I got a text from an unknown number. It said, "You should have stayed. You were quiet." I changed my number after that. Sometimes, late at night, I still wake up convinced. I hear movement above me. I don't live in an old building anymore. I don't live alone. But once you realize someone can exist just out of sight, your space without your knowledge, you never really feel alone again. And I still don't know how long he was there before I noticed.